All right, guys. Here we're going to talk about area today. Area of triangles and quadrilaterals. Let's start basic. A lot of you guys know the area of a square or a rectangle. There you go. All right. So if I was going to talk about area of a square or area of a rectangle, we would say that the area is length times width, or you could say the area is base times height. Either one, they are the exact same thing. Got it? So it doesn't matter which one you use. So for example, if I had a square, and how do I know something is a square? Is that all angles are right angles and all sides are congruent. So I said, let's say this is 6 meters by 6 meters, right? And I said, let's find the area. Well, the area, again, is just base times height. It would just be 6 meters times 6 meters, which would be 36 meters squared, because meters times meters is meters squared, right? Or like 6 times 6 is 6 squared. Or if we had a rectangle, again, a rectangle still has all right angles, except now the opposite sides are congruent. So let's say I know that this is 8 feet and this is 2 feet. Then the area, again, base times height, would be 8 feet times 2 feet. 8 times 2 is 16. Feet times feet is feet squared. So remember, all your units are always squared. You are expected to square your units and know your units for these. Got it? Trying to think anything else you should probably know. Let's see. The same goes with a rhombus or a parallelogram. So here, oh, that's a really, really ugly parallelogram. Sorry guys, my bad. Let's try again. Now, the base is easy to see here. The base is just what's on the bottom here. So let's say I said that's, I don't know, 7 feet or 7 inches. The height, it's not so easy. You guys have to remember height. We talked about this in class before. Height isn't ever slanted. Height is always perpendicular to the ground, right? Remember, perpendicular means it makes a right angle. When you go to the doctor and they said, hey, we want to figure out how tall you are, they don't say stand on an angle. They ask you to stand up straight, where you are completely straight, perpendicular to the ground. So if you had a parallelogram like this, or a rhombus like this, they would have to give you that the height is whatever's perpendicular to the ground here. So let's say I said this is, I don't know, 3 inches. Now you can figure out the area. The area would be, again, base times height. So in our case, 7 inches times 3 inches, which is 21 inches squared. Got it? So rectangle, square, rhombus, parallelogram all have the same formula for area, base times height. But what if we had a triangle? Well, if I look at a rectangle here, and I cut this rectangle in half diagonally, doesn't that make a triangle? Right? So you still have your base times your height. This is an ugly B. You still have your base times your height, but it's divided by 2 because a triangle is really half a rectangle. So that's the easiest way to remember a triangle, is that area is 1/2 base times height. Or you could say base times height divided by 2. you can decide either way which one you want to remember. So it's pretty easy when it comes to triangles like, oops, that's not what I want to do. There we go. Like a right triangle. So let's go back to our Pythagorean theorem. 3, 4, 5, right triangle. Base is pretty easy here. Our base would just be the 3 right here. But what's the height? Is the height our hypotenuse? Is it 5? No, it's not. It's that same premise again that I just talked about. Height is perpendicular to the ground, right? Height is when you're going straight up and down. It's like when you go to the doctor's. So this would be your height. So if I was going to figure out the area, it would be, again, you could do base times height divided by 2. Or in our case here, I didn't do units, so let's say these are inches. 4 inches times 3 inches divided by 2. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6, so it would be 6 inches squared. And that would be our area. So very straightforward if you have a right triangle. What if we don't have a right triangle? What if we have something like this, where I'm going to tell you the base is 10 yards. But again, what's the problem? We don't have a height. I don't have anything that is perpendicular. So we would have to give you, or you would have to be able to find the height here, and let's say it was 6 yards, right? So then you can now figure out your area. Again, base times height divided by 2. So in our case, it would be 10 yards times 6 yards divided by 2. 10 times 6 is 60. 60 divided by 2 is 30. So it would be 30 yards squared. And there you go. So make sure when you get to these, you make sure you know your heights. Last one, trapezoids. These really funky trapezoids. Let's see, I'm going to say 2 inches and 8 inches. The area of a trapezoid is a combination of triangle and rectangle. Got it? Except instead of base times height, you've got 2 bases. The 2 bases are the ones that are parallel to each other. Those are your bases. So to figure out the area of a trapezoid, it would be base 1 plus base 2 times your height. Like, so that's your base times height, but you have to add the bases first. And then divide it by 2, just like you would a triangle. All right? So in our case here, base 1 and base 2, base 1 is that smaller one, that'd be 2 inches plus 8 inches times our height. Hey, same problem we had before. We've got to know our height, which is whatever is going to be perpendicular to the base, right? Or perpendicular to the ground. That's how you guys are going to figure that out. So let's say this was, I don't know, 5 inches. There you go. So it would be times 5 inches all over 2. All right, so 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 times 5, that would be 50 inches squared over 2, which would be 25 inches squared. Got it? Let's do one more trapezoid just to make sure you guys understand it. Let's see. Sorry, I am drawing really poorly today. Let's say this is 20 centimeters, and this is 10 centimeters, and the height is, it's hard when you guys aren't here to give me numbers, 6 centimeters. There we go. So, our area again, it's base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. So what are our bases? We've got 10 plus 20, so 10 centimeters plus 20 centimeters, times the height, which is 6 centimeters, divided by 2. So we have 10 plus 20 is 30. 30 times 6 is 180 centimeters squared divided by 2. 180 divided by 2 is 90 centimeters squared. So, to review. All right, to review. If you have a rectangle, a square, a parallelogram, or a rhombus, the area is just basically base times height. If you have a triangle, the area is base times height divided by 2. If you have a trapezoid, then the area is the two bases added together, base 1 times plus base 2, times your height divided by 2. So I'm also going to attach homework. Again, just email them to me when you guys are done. Just take a picture and email them to me. I'll try to figure out how you guys can hand them in on Google Classroom as well. And you are going to do questions 1 through 20, which is just practice of doing all these areas. In a couple of days, we'll start talking about areas of other polygons. All right. Hopefully you guys are all safe. Bye.